We're live.
Are we live for real live?
Yeah, we're doing it live.
All right, awesome. Match.
Over with some of the other homies. We got Kevin Brown, our road correspondent, that's up there right now. They're going to be going to that terrible baseball field to go watch Atlanta United try and bring 3 points back home and just continue that great road for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, as Kevin said, we're on Before Dark. I'm Tim. He's Kevin.
Obviously.
And we're live. If you guys are watching, we're live at Elder Tree Pub down in East Atlanta Village.
Kendra, good to see you in the live chat, man. Now get out of it and come down here and watch the game.
If you guys are watching and you guys are in Atlanta, shame on you. Come and join us in EAV at Elder Tree.
So yeah, thanks to Elder Tree for hosting us. They'll be doing glass etching with Guinness outside on the patio. We'll have somebody from out there to come and talk to us about
Elder Tree, an official Heineken sponsored pub.
Absolutely. So jump right into it, man. We got an hour to record, and we got a lot of stuff to unpack.
Yeah, we kind of want to leave it, give us a half hour to decompress before the game starts. Two of the best teams, if not the two best teams in the league. Two of the three best, I guess, if you want to include SKC in that. It is a big game, and it's a weird game because you have NYCFC who have a crazy good run of form this year, with the exception of, I guess, the Hudson River Derby where they got thrashed by New York Red Bull. Or New York Red Bulls, right?
And then they got thrashed again this week by the same club.
Yeah, so...
Which is where I want to start. I want to start before we get to NYC. Let's talk about Open Cup, because there's been a lot of talk this week about what implications the Open Cup match this week against Charleston Battery has for Atlanta United moving forward, and I think there's some implications for NYCFC moving forward as well. So we open up this week against Charleston Battery.
Yeah, up in Kennesaw
State.
Sprinklers be damned. We still ended up coming out with that 3-0 victory. I think whenever we talked on Monday night, we were trying to do lineup predictions. It's kind of tough because you think about the depth on this team and the amount of youth that a lot of teams like to play their younger guys in these Open Cup matches in any league, not even just MLS. And we have so much upcoming youth right now that we want to get experience to. So we're talking about that on Monday when we're talking about whether it be Andrew Carlton or Andrew Wheeler-Aminu, or we're talking about Brandon Vasquez, or we're talking about Chris Goslin. And we got the lineup, I would say, pretty close to right.
Yeah, after we talked about it for 45 minutes and mentioned everybody in the lineup that could potentially play, I think we got some combination.
I think the only thing that I was necessarily just absolutely dead wrong about was the fact that I thought Joseph was definitely going to play. And
I think we both agreed that Barco was not going to play. It's too high of an investment to risk on an Open Cup match.
It's not the risk playing in an Open Cup match. It's that he's been running his ass off the past couple of weeks in a midweek game. You kind of do want to rest your assets in that case. Right. And one of the guys that you normally would play in that, at least from my standpoint, would be your star striker to keep him in form, especially if he's scoring the rate. Granted, Joseph scored 2 PKs in a tap-in, but I mean the tap-in was pretty damn nice against.
But reflecting on it, I think it makes sense from a lineup perspective because you rest your players that you're really going to need today against a formidable NYC.
Yeah, absolutely. So go back. So let's keep talking about Charleston. So we saw a good bit of youth starting in this game, where you had Vasquez on the right, you had Andrew Carlton playing in the slot where Miggy normally would be, right? Mm-hmm. And then Andrew Wheeler-Aminu started, right?
So what was interesting about that is Carlton actually did not start as the 10. He started as the left wing. And Barco was the 10 in Miggy's spot. And you saw them rotate out, and Carlton just sort of filled that role in the midfield.
What's interesting about that is you saw the lineup graphic that was posted by Atlanta United, and you had Barco playing as the number 9. Like, you had him up front. Playing as, not the sole striker, but you had him playing as kind of the head to that spear in the front. But and that's the great thing, right, is we have that fluidity. We were talking about that earlier on in the season and in preseason when we're talking about number 10s and replacements and like-for-like replacements with Miguel Almiron, if he was ever to be rested. In this case, you bring in Andrew Carlton. We were talking about Andrew Carlton being the only like-for-like replacement with Miguel Almiron whenever Barco's not in there to kind of, fill that gap, I guess. Right. So we got to see Carlton. Get to see Vasquez play.
Escobar back, which was
Escobar, yes. It was Escobar, Miles Robinson, and LGP in the back three.
No,
that's right. It was back
Which
four.
is why I wanted to talk about this, because I think we maintained the back four in this game, especially with the more condensed field of a 5-player midfield.
Right, yeah, I'd like to get into that too, because of some of the weaknesses of the 3-5-2 and the way that we've been getting compressed,
right,
so to speak.
So one of the things
on the wings
in Open Cup that has been circulating is talk about what players did and what their performance was in an U.S. Open Cup match and what that could potentially mean moving forward.
Okay.
And I think you have to take a lot of that with a grain of salt, because it is an Open Cup match. Just like you're not going to, I mean, that's why we posted the tongue-in-cheek poll about putting Can over Guzan and goal.
Yeah, for anybody who ever sees us post that, that's usually a joke, but it's also great to see that we have a MLS caliber starting goalkeeper that is sitting on the bench. I love the guy and I love what he did for this team last year, but I think at a certain point, we need to trade him away for an international spot, or we need to trade him away for some allocation money. Again, he's a local kid. It's going to be tough. He did so well for us last year whenever we were waiting for Guzan to come in. But to that end, I think this front office is adept enough at transactions and doing smart transactions. I think part of it that probably slowed up the process is he and Hildebrandt were both dealing with injuries to start the year. We brought in Hildebrandt, I don't think, to be the number one in the back for USL.
So I don't think it's anything to mess around with. They just said it sounds a little funky, so you might have to just pull it away just slightly, just so it's going through there. But I think you're fine. So again, in taking with a grain of salt, we saw a lineup that did play a lot of youth. Obviously, those players aren't going to be starting, and it was against a competition that was formidable in Charleston Battery. But again, you are playing a lower league team. You can't apply those tactics directly to an NYCFC. So I don't think all of those players, though they had great performances, I think that there are parts of it that you move forward in MLS play and parts of it that are going to remain in U.S. Open Cup, which we found out that our next opponent, speaking of which, just a quick aside, is going to be Chicago Fire, and we're going to be playing in the bins, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I think season ticket holders get a free ticket for that.
How do you feel about that?
That's our free ticket as opposed to the playoff game?
Yeah.
Again, I think you said it the other day. I think I'm cool with it as long as
we get support shield. Yeah, if we get a buy, I'm okay with that being our free ticket. But
I'm talking a little further away from the mic. Let me know if you guys in the live chat whether or not you guys can hear me well enough now.
So takeaways from Open Cup.
Andrew Carlton's been sitting in the 18 for the past few weeks, actually past few months with a senior team.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, to me, he showed he's worthy of being a Kratz-level substitution where he's one of the first guys off the bench to come in on a regular basis.
I think you said it right. He should be a substitution, and Brian's mentioning just backing off the mics a bit. So I think we're good now. For Andrew Carlton, everybody wants to see him succeed, and rightfully so, but as a substitution over a starting position, I think that's what a lot of those takeaways are, is that these guys aren't necessarily vying for the starting 11 position, but a viable sub, especially with Carlton, who looked really shaky to open up that game, in my opinion. It took him about 15 minutes to really settle in. Once he did, it was really apparent that he had.
You're like, oh, okay. If Miguel Almiron gets sold, I think we're going to be all right. Like,
right.
For me, one of the things that Carlton provides that some of the other guys on the team maybe not, or maybe don't, he has a lot of dynamism. And he can dribble. He can play really quick 1-2s, but at the same time, we saw it with his goal. He has a shot from distance that some of these guys lack.
Right.
And I think that adds an extra dimension to this team if he were to come off the bench. He's, again, still some of the MLS 3.0, you're still dealing with some slower teams and slower back lines. And he is perfect. He and Barco are kind of in that same mold to me. Right. But he's not as shy.
Right, absolutely. So, all right, looking forward to NYC. What things did you see in Open Cup that will apply directly to this game? My opinion is 4-back comes forward, obviously. I think Escobar, healthy, fit, ready to play, starting MLS as...
Dude, yeah, the game against Philly, I think it was apparent that he's one of our best options in the back.
Absolutely, especially in a 4-back. I really like him in that, because the 4-back, more so than the 3-back, you are requiring those backs to track forward.
Yeah, and Katie's here, and I'm gonna apologize, but Franco Escobar is Anton Walk's 3.0 because he can play much better, more accurate passes, but he can also play in the center.
I also think he's a little bit quicker. Yes. Which is really what you need out of those positions.
He can track
the ability
back.
To track back.
We saw it against Philly. He could track back as well as Miles Robinson, and he's fat. Like it's great.
Right.
It's a great option to have on the right, and then from there, it just shows. Again, we talk about it week in, week out. The depth. It gives us more options. If we were to go back to the 3-5-2 formation, we would be able to. From that standpoint, we have, 5-6 center backs that we could play between McCann, LGP, Parkhurst, Miles Robinson, and then Franco Escobar.
Right.
And then you switch to the 4-back. You have a guy that can play out onto the. How many right backs do we have at this point? We have 2, right? Between, I guess, 3. If you want to count Julian Gressel, Zizzo.
Stop with the Gressel. How many times do I have to have this?
And then Franco Escobar.
Well, Escobar, Zizzo, and then Miles Robinson.
Right, but not in a 4-back. You don't want to play Miles Robinson on the right. I guess you could in a desperation situation. He's fast enough. He could track back. He can mark men. He's fine in that regard. But.
So other than the defensive back and the formation, there's not really much out of U.S. Open Cup that I can apply to NYCFC game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
With the formation, just to add to that, we're still adept at playing either formation. The problem, and I think people are still a little gun shy about maybe going back to this, and I'm one of them, is the first time we played the 4-2-3-1 at the beginning of this year, we got thrashed. Granted, we were playing against a pretty good Houston team in Toyota Park, or is it Toyota? No, BBVA Compass Field, and we got worked.
Mike Ambrose can play right back too. Didn't think about that. He has. I like Ambrose more on the left than I do.
Yeah, he's left-footed.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But he could.
And then on the left side, the depth and the health is coming back, and I'm just very happy about it.
So other than that, again, anything else moving forward before we get into NYC from the Open Cup match that you see being applicable? Because you have to take a lot of it with a grain of salt. That's just the reality. There are moments of greatness, but ultimately I think that game makes me more hopeful for our run in Open Cup than it does for real takeaways looking towards MLS.
I think the takeaways are more for the future than they are directly applicable to the game today. Other than the formation. Am I sounding okay still to people? No more complaints?
See, they just mentioned maybe turning down the gain a little bit. So this is one of the times we're testing the PA so that we can broadcast out to Elder Tree as well as piping through the phone. So we're always changing and trying to make this thing a little bit more adept and adaptive to the situation.
Let's see if that's better. I turned down the volume on the PA a little bit.
So so NYCFC, we get news this week. Vieira getting a contract potentially with Nice.
Yeah.
I think that lends well. I mean, so back to Open Cup, NYC loses another hefty game to New York.
What was the score in that one?
4-0.
It was 4-0 again?
Yeah. So obviously we know Red Bulls are a lethal team, but how much of the situations at NYCFC are starting to hinder play? But whether it's Vieira, injuries still plaguing David Villa, I think that they have the talent, but I think there's a lot of things happening off the field that are starting to affect their play as well.
No, I agree. It's going to be hard to take away from that distraction.
And I believe Alex Ring is nursing an injury too, if I'm not mistaken.
He normally is.
Yeah.
The man's he's a great player, but he definitely has a knack for getting injured.
Yeah.
They're a team with a lot of depth. The one thing I'll say is you take Villa out of the lineup and they still score. You have Tajiri Sharati who's putting in goals again. I think he's probably got 5 or 6 this year. He's absolutely, completely capable of playing up front by himself and putting in goals for them. He's another one, though, where he was dealing with injuries earlier on in the season. And then Brigitte really hasn't panned out so far. He had a pretty good game against us, except in the finishing. Like, he seemed to run well in the counter against us last time we played in Mercedes-Benz, but he couldn't put a finishing touch on it. So I hope that wasn't just an aberration and that he's not going to be getting down the wing and getting one-on-ones as easily as he was at Mercedes-Benz and just putting them in this time.
Yeah, I agree. And so NYC obviously dealing with things off the field. On the field, I think that they are still as lethal as ever, but I do have a little bit more optimism looking forward to that matchup now, knowing what's taking place, knowing that Villa's still nursing an injury, most likely not going to play. Saw him play for just a few minutes last week. Didn't play an Open Cup to my knowledge, so
Right. Last week, it was my understanding it wasn't an injury that kept him out of the match against Orlando. It was just that Vieira didn't play him.
Right.
Or he didn't start him, at least.
Yeah, he came in for just a few minutes, basically.
Yeah, right. So. He ended up having that bicycle kick that went off of the crossbar, and then somebody else had a bike, and then Maxi Morales put it in.
Awesome. Michelle in the live chat says she's coming down to ElderTree to join us for the game
That's
today.
awesome.
So
It'd be nice to meet you, despite the fact that you support England. But I won't put it against you in the country that you were born in. And
that's a good point, though.
That.
So ElderTree is actually going to be hosting World Cup watch parties. A lot of events going on here for that.
If you guys are participating in the Home Before Dark Prediction League, I put in the World Cup games yesterday, but the problem is I'm trying to separate the two leagues out. So what we're going to do is, in conjunction with ElderTree, is we're going to put together some prize packages for the Prediction League for World Cup too. So if you guys go to gethomebeforedark.com/predictions, sign up, and you guys will be ready for that. So
yeah. So I don't think I've talked to you about World Cup. Who are you thinking? Just gut reaction. Who do you think goes all the way?
I don't. It's hard to say because it's kind of the same scenario, same. What am I trying to say? You see this play out over and over again in World Cups, where there are 5 teams that I can conceivably see winning it. I think it's
right.
you have Germany, obviously the defending champs. You have Spain, who are looking to rebound off of their dominance for whatever it was, 8 years. You have France, who arguably have the most talented squad in the whole World Cup, who I don't know if they can put it together. Brazil, who again are looking to rebound. They made it to the final last year, got thrashed. Or no, semifinals, right? Yeah. Got thrashed by Germany 7-1.
Yeah.
They have a great squad. And then Belgium. Belgium is a team that we've been talking about in the soccer community for the past, 12 years, or 10 years probably.
And now you're seeing it really start to surge and take off.
Saw it, right? So
really starting to happen.
You saw it whenever you saw, granted, injuries derailed his career, but the likes of Steven Defour coming up, and then Kevin De Bruyne, and then Lukaku, and you think about that squad, it's just the amount of talent they have. Eden Hazard, and then their back line. They have a fantastic team, but the problem is they have a lot of youth still. I mean, the guys mostly are not in their late 20s yet. And they could go on a dominant run, but at the same time,
how much does that youth and that pressure on that stage start to affect teams like that have the talent?
It could be either way, right? They could see it as nothing to lose.
True.
But at the same time, they made it into the round of the round of 16 or round of 8 last time. Belgium
I think 16.
did. No, they beat us in the round of 16, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's
yeah.
Right.
So they made it to the quarterfinals.
So yeah,
I have a feeling Brazil is going to show out.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't really know. My gut reaction says might be Spain's year.
I'm finally over the Ramos thing.
Yeah.
I'm not over it from a club level, but I will support one of my home countries again, and I will cheer for Spain despite the fact that
I think that's my gut reaction right now. I could see it.
They're an aging team. They have some great youth, but at the same time, some of their key players like Gerard Piqué and Ramos, and Diego Costa is getting kind of old. He's never really showed out on that level. Iniesta is obviously getting up there. He's moving on from Barcelona. I don't know.
So do you think Argentina's completely out of the running at this point?
I don't think so. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of shit going on with that team right now, and that's going to be a team that's going to have to weather the storm of off the field issues. Same with Mexico, but what? We got any?
Raphael says Brazil about to get their 6th this summer. Kendrick says Tim is going to be cheering on Ramos playing dirty in Russia. So,
it's not dirty if it's for my team.
Bill Holcomb, Brazil with a bunch of question marks. I don't know if that means that he thinks Brazil's going to take it or if he's questioning your call.
He's questioning my call of Brazil.
Run. So I think, like you said, there's always 5 or 6 teams that you can conceivably think are going to be in the running to make it. England always falls short, so would you guys be down for this? I know I don't want to burn us out recording too much, but World Cup previews and recaps. I think we have to. We talk about it. We talked about it at the live
If you remember, that's how I got started podcasting. You came on with me.
Absolutely.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
8 years ago, whenever we were doing the 2010 World Cup.
Back when Netherlands were actually playing football, which was great.
It was so funny.
I thought they were going to.
I had no idea what I was doing.
That broke my heart. I don't think I was never able to publicly talk about that. But for them to fall short against Argentina in PK's last World Cup, and miss out on that run against Germany.
They were a team.
My heart. Because I think that they could have given Germany, out of the two, Argentina and Netherlands, I think Netherlands potentially could have exposed
and
it.
It's kind of sad, but at the same time, not so sad that the Netherlands definitely don't seem that Football Federation did not plan that well for the future. You saw them plan for the future 15 years ago,
right.
But then you're looking at the likes of who they have on the field between Robin and Van Persie and Van der Vaart and Nigel de Jong and you saw it even in the 2010 World Cup whenever they fell short against Spain.
That's when I think it started slipping.
I mean, Van Bommel was playing into his late 30s. Right. You had Van Bronckhorst that was also playing into his late 30s. Right. Granted, he had one of the greatest goals in World Cup history in that World Cup, but
that's I don't know. I think everybody was aging. Last World Cup, they had their final sort of last grasp of desperation.
I'm interested. Did Bill say whether or not why he thought?
He said he's questioning it. And he says he's still pretty drunk, so he's just rolling over. Come on down to Elder Tree, Bill. Hang out with us.
Hair of the dog that bit you. Yeah, come meet us, man. We've been dying to meet the Bill Holcomb.
We got some plastic stickers we're giving out to people that are coming out.
Yeah, so we have some. We got some 17 plastic stickers that we still have left, and some Home Before Dark black stickers.
Okay, so turning focus back to.
No, I want to talk World Cup the rest of the time we're here. That's what we're here for.
Not doing that. Okay, so.
Interesting, though, it didn't end up happening, but with Manuel Lanzini bowing out of the World Cup, there were rumors that Barco was going to replace him, but that's
I don't think.
No, he didn't. They already named his replacement. I forgot who it was, but
so Atlanta United NYC. I think
again, two best teams in the East, arguably. Or do you think Red Bulls are better than?
I think Red Bulls may be the best team in the East right now. I think they are. I think that they got off to a slower start than Atlanta United, and I think that they will surge and end up overthrowing, potentially taking the Supporters' Shield. I think right now the race is between.
I think if Red Bulls end up winning the East, I think that SKC is going to be the Supporters' Shield winner. You think because so? I see SKC running away with the West. I do.
You just see the way that Red Bulls are putting up goals, and I mean a lot of that is on Bradley Wright Phillips' ability. But
Kaku Gamara, man,
but Kaku as well. I think
again proving to be. And it maybe apples to oranges. He is proving to be the signing of the winner. Right. I guess winner. Yeah. That prolonged transfer ended up paying off for them. He has something like 10 MLS assists at this point.
No, Kendrick, I don't think the Crew are going to surge to take over Supporters' Shield.
No, the Crew peaked. I don't know that they. Okay, peak is maybe the wrong word, but you see, they already have. They have 2 more games played than most of the teams in the East.
Yep.
They're sitting in second or third.
Third, I believe, because it's us and NYC.
Right, they're a pretty thin squad. So I think if they have,
I think they're much more a defensive player than an offense, or a defensive team than an offensive team.
I don't know. I am impressed by what Jossie Zardes has been able to do.
I mean, there are moments, sure, but overall,
it really hinges on a couple people between Artur and Higuain, Christian Ramirez, and Zardes. If they're not playing well together, if one of those guys is off, they're probably. But they have the best keeper. They have the best. To me, he's the best keeper in the U.S. right now. Right. And Zach Steffen. He's unbelievable.
So SKC, best chance for the West to win Supporters? And
yes, I think so. I think they're definitely built for that. I talk about another defensive powerhouse. Yes. You have the best center back pair probably the past 3 years between Beasler and Iko Para back there. And then they have a great team right now. Like they're gelling. They're creating a lot of chances. They're scoring goals at a high rate.
Yeah.
And they're defending. And they had a shaky defense to start the year, but seeing the way that they have panned out, the way that they've started to gel on that back line again between Opara and Beasler, it makes me happy to see from a U.S. perspective some more options back there. But, yeah, I think they're going to run away with the West. It is interesting to see Portland starting to get their sea legs, or get rid of their sea legs.
And that's who they're matching up against with this week. It's the SKC Portland. Like, a lot of good games on the slate this week. You got Columbus facing off against New York Red Bulls. You've got us playing against NYC.
Real quick, what do you think about that game?
So that's the interesting point, is that, like I said, Columbus seems to be a much more defensively structured team against a more offensively structured team in the Red Bulls, in my opinion. I mean, they have a decent defense, but I think that's going to be the matchup to watch there. It's going to be between the Red Bulls offense and what Kaku and Bradley Wright Phillips can do to expose that back line between Mensah and
I want to say that, and I don't know what happened. I want to say whenever I was checking my fantasy lineup that
Josh Bagaransky
that Kaku was not available.
What's up, Josh?
Hey, Josh. We got Josh Bagriansky, Mouse of the South.
Hello, man.
Buddy of ours rolling out of bed in East Atlanta Village. Yeah.
Did you get you a bagel?
Hello?
Yeah.
A bagel would be great.
Bring it
Good
in
to
for
see you guys.
bring it in for a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
That's your fist bump. I'm not.
Yeah, that's what he shows what he thinks about you, Josh.
Oh, that's just rude. as much heat is revolved around the podcast wars, there's nothing but love.
That's so funny. Yeah. You're like, do contracts permit us
exactly.
crossing streams now? No.
People, I was like, what's going on with you guys? Like, I don't know. I think they're kind of cool. I love listening to you guys. You guys do the live interaction. And, it's great to be here.
Thanks for coming over, man.
Yeah.
So this is your neck of the woods, right? So
I'm about 3 blocks from here.
Yeah, roll
So
out of bed.
I literally did. You called it. Yeah. I'm
That's
sure
great.
it doesn't show at all that I just rolled out of bed, but
So we have a request in the live chat. Kendrick requests that you talk about VAR.
It seems like you change your position on it a good bit.
What day is it?
I'm pro VAR, but my point simply with all the hubbub about my opinion, I think, has been that I think people who are anti-VAR are not actually anti-VAR. They're just pro-Atlanta United. So when the calls go against us, it's suddenly a big protest against VAR. But you didn't hear anything from our fans about the 3 reds being reversed last week or the Christian Martinez miss. So I think some people, maybe it's your biases swaying your opinion, not your principles towards VAR.
I completely agree with that.
We've talked about it over and over.
Yeah.
Like, in principle, it's great. They just have to get the practice down.
Exactly.
It has to get consistent.
And I think there's a way to do so in that you force the officiating and how they utilize it. So what I would like to see is more along the lines of the way the quote-unquote VAR is used in NBA, where the ref has to make a call, and then he can either uphold it or change it through video review, not the other way around. That's what's frustrating, is that it's slowing down the game because the officiating is resting on
missed calls, not corrected calls.
Right. Don't you guys think they bit off a little more that they could chew, including the reviewing fouls and the build-up to any goals? I think they should have started with just penalties, red cards, offsides, didn't ball across the line, stuff you can make a quick call on. The whole thing with looking back for a foul in the attacking phase is very difficult.
Then you start to get, that was my issue with it, is that you start slowing those things down and you watch what took place over a second that then spans over a 30-second time frame, and you start getting into frame by frame of, was he in control of the slide? What was his real intent? Like, that's the issue here. Yeah. All right, so look, you got here right on time. We just started really opening up the discussion about NYC and what we expect to see. We talked about Open Cup, we talked about World Cup.
Just talking about any implications from the success against Charleston that you think apply to the NYCFC game. What we talked about is the formation, seeing that we could still be successful in a 4-back.
That's true.
And because to me, we can get into it now. One of the issues that I was seeing with the 3-back is what we started seeing were teams that were able to compress our back line, where the 3 center backs were playing more as center backs and they weren't covering as much ground whenever the wing backs were trying to get back. And that was one of the issues that I really saw.
Well, the issue here is going to be not the team compressing the midfield.
Look at the lineups to
waiting for the 11.
They're usually not as they're not as tidy with the starting 11 on that 60-minute mark before as like an EPL
should
team
be any minute now. So
I think whoever's managing social media, just use Hootsuite better.
Yeah,
you know the lineup.
There you go.
Just go ahead and schedule
And it posts to all your social media accounts at once, right? Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be NYC compressing the midfield or the back line. I think it's going to be the field constraints compressing the midfield more so than anything. And having 5 players in the midfield is going to naturally compress it. I think the setup of the field and NYC's threats lend itself to a 4-back in this game in particular on the road against them, is my impression.
Right, because you're not having to worry about keeping that middle 5 spread out. You're having more of a structure with those guys playing around those. Yeah, I could see that. What do you think? Do you think we stick with a 4-back?
It's a tough one because I think on the one hand, the 3 you play 3 in the back, and if you play the wing backs a little higher and they don't necessarily come back, then it's not. One thing I've heard is that 5 across the back on a narrow field with the 3-5-2 with wing backs coming back is going to just be too much on that narrow pitch. So I could definitely see the 3-5-2 coming out and just having your wing backs attack a little bit more. But the big thing.
Do you think we're strong enough with the 3 in the back to deploy those more as wingers than as wing backs? That's my only issue with that, right?
Yeah, and I would say yes, but I think that the ridiculousness of this pitch at Yankee Stadium changes everything. So I think we do see a 3-5-2. It becomes more of a true 3 in the back, with the wing backs playing a much more attacking than coming back and playing alongside.
I just want to make sure. Are you guys getting Josh in the mic? Because I'm not hearing you on the PA.
Yeah, talking to just
go to the top. Yeah.
What, like this?
Yeah, there you go. Much better.
That's cool.
Perfect. You did it.
So I'm sure for the back.
Well, I wanted to continue the tradition of y'all's mics not working during your
that's
shows.
just rude.
So, yeah.
No, this is our first time setting up with this rig, so we have a small
sorry about that.
Yeah, see, Brian says it's
rig.
working. Everybody can hear it. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah, the only issue, I was trying to eat the microphone, and people were saying it was sounding a little distorted.
So the other reason why I want to see us go to the 4-back is, I've talked about it before, I think that the 4-back is where you see the utilization of Tito become more efficient. And
so he's healthy, right? I mean, I saw him at least in training the other day.
I did. The team did a periscope of them getting off the bus, and I did not see Tito.
Okay.
Really?
So maybe he's still
I don't. I mean, we'll know soon, hopefully. But
well, so if that's the case, let's just assume we go a 4-2-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
What's your lineup?
Did McCann still has the hamstring issues, or did he travel?
I think
I think he traveled because I don't think he came out for an injury against Philly. He came out.
Okay. So
to bring in
I would
Mikey
go if we go with 4 in the back, Parky, LGP. I think left back you would go with McCann, and right back. You know, I've seen some people say Gressel there. I do think there's something to Gressel not being able to play as an out-and-out fullback because he's not as great a 1v1 defender.
Oh, you guys.
I love you so much,
Escobar right back. That's right.
Thank you.
Right.
God,
Escobar right back. I would love to see Gressel get a shot there to see maybe if we could.
Check. Okay, we're back.
Hey, we're back. Hopefully you guys can hear us.
So back to Escobar and you validating my opinion that he should be starting at right back, not Gressel. We also had a comment in the chat to those.
Okay, everybody thinks I'm crazy. I think that he's shown a good enough defensive capability. I think that Escobar is a better option back there, but I think that Gressel is. I think he would be. To me, he's as solid on defense as Mikey Ambrose would be.
I say it every time.
He's Mikey Ambrose's equal on the right side.
I say it every time. It's a matter of can versus should, and I don't think that. Yes, he can, but should he with the depth and the actual players that Atlanta United has?
Make sure you guys get us. Can you guys hear us in the live chat?
So okay, so back to your lineup. You think Escobar, LGP, Parkey, and Ambrose or McCann, right?
Yeah, Ambrose or McCann on the left.
Not George Bello.
Yeah.
No, that's too hot of a take.
Give that a few years.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Give that a few years. I mean, I think from there, what's interesting in the 4-back is Barco probably goes to the left.
Yes.
Almiron plays in the more traditional 10 spot, and Nagbe Laurentowicz.
I think my biggest question mark is the right wing.
Would that be? I mean, Brandon Vasquez traveled with the team.
He was outstanding to me in his 25 minutes, whatever it was against.
Impressed, yeah.
Against.
I I like Brandon
against
Vasquez
Philly.
up there, but starting, I mean, it depends on if do we know for
Do you
sure.
like him? Do you like him
healthy?
over Gressel in a 4-2-3-1?
From the start, I think I'd still go with Gressel because he provides really
I
good
agree with
service. If we are coming out to high press and it's a better pressing, I think we play 4 in the back, it's a little easier to press. I think Gressel is probably the option. But
Lineup is up, by the way.
what do we got, guys?
So they definitely provide two different dynamics, right? Where Gressel can provide much better service from the wing. It seems like Brandon Vasquez is better at getting in.
Wow, so we did go with the 3-back. So
It's,
lineup is up, everyone.
Yeah, it's a 3-5-2.
That's
So
interesting.
You're looking at LGP, Parkhurst, and Escobar in the back. You got Lorenowitz and Nagby staggered in the middle. There's no change from Philadelphia's second half,
And in the 18,
right? I mean, that's the lineup that we had in the second half against Philly. Yeah.
And so in the 18, you're right. I don't see where Tito traveled. So
We got Kratz, Robinson, Vasquez, Wheeler, Aminu,
Williams, and
Romario
Zizzo.
Williams, and Zizzo. Yeah.
Okay, so now we know what the lineup
That's
is.
interesting. No Carlton in the 18.
Carlton traveled and is not. Not in the. He did travel with them. I mean, sometimes you bring an alternate with you.
That's true, though. We saw that whenever Gallagher went up to Minnesota.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm interested, guys. I mean, I think the 3-back can work. It's just going to look a little bit different because those 3 will. I think you'll see Escobar and Gonzalez Pires almost playing as left and right backs at
Pull up
times.
the NYCFC lineup.
Because of the narrow field. God, man, you have me do all this work.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
I just
Well,
came up here, just woke up, and now you're having me.
but you've got it up. You're ready to go. I mean, well, and you're on brand with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see if we've got anything.
I don't see
Nothing
anything from
yet.
them. I see quite yet.
Nobody tell Eric and Sam that Josh came and hung out with us.
Yeah, nobody say.
They'll be
nobody say anything.
furious. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody tell the powers that be at SB Nation.
Okay, so
We
while
have
we're
a
waiting on the
non-compete in our.
so while we're waiting on the NYC lineup to come in, what are your thoughts with the 3-back formation? Obviously, you said it right. Like our backs are going to have to spread out a little bit. Who do you think is going to be the guy in that 5-man midfield to fall back if they're playing the high press, which you expect them to do?
I think it has to be Miguel Almiron, and I think one of the advantages of us playing in the 3-5. You mean coming back from the attack to defense?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Miggy is that guy, and he's been that guy. And I think the reason this formation works is his ability to cover so much space through the middle that he get up and play underneath the 2 strikers. He can also come back and help. So it's a big day for him.
Right. You envision a lot of tracking back from him and Joseph.
From Joseph?
Well, you see that in some games
That's
wherever
true.
he puts on it, like he pulls up his bootstraps, and a lot of times,
Right.
especially if he's getting frustrated with either service or his inability to finish and find space, you see him track back a good bit on defense.
That's true.
I don't know if he's necessarily needed. I'm very interested in seeing the New York lineup.
So the thing we saw last time we played NYC was
Here we
the
go.
chess match that took place in the.
So despite injuries,
Wow.
they're going full bore on the offensive front.
That says a
I mean,
lot
you have a
about
front
what they're
three of-
trying to do.
Yeah, you have a front 3 of Tajuri Shradi, Villa, and Brigitte playing together. And they're going to be getting service from Maxi Morales. All right, so yeah, they have Sean Johnson in goal. Callens or Kyans, however you pronounce that guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Ring is playing. I don't know Ibiega. I'm not sure. I know
Sure,
that. Yeah, Sweat, Afori, and then Tinnerholm. So Tinnerholm and Morales going to be the guys that are probably providing service, and that's what makes me nervous again about the 3-back.
Exactly.
Is you're going to essentially have 2 wingers, right? I mean, you're going to have Villa playing as kind of the out-and-out striker, and then you have Brigitte and Tajuri Shradi playing on the either side
I
of
think
him.
what that forces Atlanta to do is to resolve some of the issues that they've had the past few weeks about the consistency in the midfield, and goes back to the way we saw the game start to play out against NYC the last time, where it was a chess match about who was going to press, who was going to pull, what was going to take place in the midfield. Was it going to be one-on-one encounters where you're going to have to play the passing game? And hopefully we see a lot more of that coming into this game, because that lineup says a lot about what NYC is trying to do here, knowing that Villa's nursing the injuries and trying to get to some sort of consistency. I expect to see that chess match play out. One of the issues I saw last week was that Atlanta seemed to stick more into their initial approach to the game rather than some of the variation that you've seen throughout that you saw in the first 6 or 7 games.
Kendrick Brock in the live chat, he has a great comment. He says, Sean Johnson's another keeper that if we just keep feeding crosses in, he's going to dominate us. Big guy, he gets off his line pretty quickly.
Atlanta guy. Yeah.
Marietta, right?
He went to Brookwood, I believe.
Okay, so what is that, Lilburn, Snellville?
Yeah, I think he's actually from the Stone Mountain area, but yeah. Anyway, just a little
But with
aside.
this lineup with 5 players in the midfield, you don't have to bomb the crosses across the box because you do have enough players in the midfield to start to build up the play centrally rather than just distributing to the wings and expecting something to cross across for Martinez.
I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to expect from service, where it's going to come from, and how we kind of plan for that. Because you saw against Philly, it was so direct from Almiron to get to the wing. He and Ambrose playing 1-2s in the second half.
It was overlap after overlap.
It overlapped across. That's all it was. That's all we saw, and it was just poor execution. It's not what I'm used to seeing from this team, I guess.
Don't you think that was more a product of Philadelphia playing with 9 men, and they just put everyone
Maybe
behind
so.
the ball
Yeah.
and packed the middle? It seemed like that was pretty much our only method of attack. But you're right, we do get predictable down the flanks. But I would counter the point about crossing too often with the way Gressel crosses the ball. It's not a floated-in cross, not a lumped-in cross.
For him, yes.
He can whip it in. He can keep it low. And on a narrower pitch, I mean, that can be even more difficult.
Well, again, it's like you said, it's the variation in it. It's the probing that he's able to do, which we saw whenever we... I forgot the game again where we were down early on 1-0, and then you see Gressel trying to distribute aerially across the floor. That's what you're going to need to do. If you're going to cross, you're going to have to switch up the way that you're doing that and the way you're producing opportunities. So
absolutely, and I'm sure New York will be prepared for the types of crosses that are going to come from the right, and certainly he provides special service. But you said it, Tim, that you're not seeing that type of service consistently from the left, particularly with McCann not being there. So it's going to be interesting to see how will the two wings operate in kind of a uniform manner, or will we see the left side kind of building up with Miguel drifting to the left, combining with Ambrose, and Gressel getting isolated, hitting and crosses? It'll be interesting.
Well, one of the things we saw was Ambrose's ability to do that. Him coming into
he plays tight 1-2s with Miggy.
He does more so than McCann, I'd argue. In instances, I mean, in the past 2 games where he's played, that was the argument, right? That he's earned himself a spot in the 18. Now, obviously, in the 11, he has the ability to make those crosses and that distribution from the left side, which opens up your possibility a little bit more.
I think where the 2 wingbacks, where their average position ends up being, might determine how the match goes. So if we see that they're forced back into defensive positions more often, that's going to be trouble. If they're able to get higher up the pitch consistently, of course that means we're going to be controlling the game. I think it'll be very, very different. If we can get those guys higher up the pitch, stick with the 3 in the back. If, like you guys said, if they're controlling it, the wingers are going to be able to get high, and they're going to force Ambrose and Gressel back into defensive positions.
Predictions for today? What are you thinking? Another hard-fought draw?
I think we're going to lose.
I think so, too.
Yeah,
I think I said that last week. I think it's going to be like a 2-0.
I like 2-1. I'll tell you one player I'm really worried about today is Ezequiel Barco, who I think fantastic. Obviously, I've loved watching him. Tendency to lose the ball in the center of the pitch a little too much.
And that's bad against
positions.
this team, yeah.
This field, you can't do that.
That counterattack that they're going to deploy on that is going to be,
especially
it's going to be pretty
you look at the way
risky.
The way teams have been able to swarm Nagbe and Barco, it makes those one touches that much more critical, or their ability to take space that much more critical. And I agree, Josh. I think that will be the difference here, is that can Atlanta create space to where those inherent abilities of a 1v1 are able to really shape the rest of the team to create space.
And on a pitch where creating space is very, very difficult.
Exactly. So concerns about Barco, who's your standout player today? Who do you think is going to be
from Atlanta?
Well, overall, Alex Ring obviously I think was the standout last time.
We didn't play against Tajiri Sharadi. He was out the match at Mercedes-Benz, and that's the player I'm probably most scared of. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he could score.
Yeah.
He's the heir apparent to David Villa once he's gone, right? Unless he goes to Nice or something with what do you think about that, Patrick Vieira? Do you think that's going to be a distraction today?
I hope so.
It's perhaps his last match in charge, right?
And the whole thing has been weird, right? You wonder how much...
It's almost like a Carlos Carmona situation.
It is like a Carlos Carmona, you're right, where it was so weird because they kind of vehemently denied there was even contact for so long, and now we're hearing this will be his last match. I think the key is how honest he's been with his team in the lead up to it. Obviously, with the media, you can't say, I'm staying, I'm going. Well, you can't say I'm going. But I think if he's been honest with his side, they'll be receptive to him, wanting to go manage in Europe. If they're in the dark about this the way we all are, then I think it really is a distraction.
Yeah. I also think it's a positive for the league. It sucks to lose a mind like Vieira, but to see a coach, and you're going to see this happen with New York Red Bulls too. Mm-hmm. Whenever Jesse Marsch is going to go over, he's probably going to manage Leipzig, right?
Yeah. Fantastic.
You're going to see arguably two of the best, 5 coaches in MLS that are going to go take bigger jobs over. Actually, I don't know. Do you think Nice at this point is a bigger job than NYCFC? Certainly a bigger league at this point.
I think as far as a stepping stone, absolutely. He'll have to manage Mario Balotelli if he stays there through the summer, which will be interesting.
Did they still have John Michael Seri, or did he go?
Yes, but I think he's probably
he's off to Barcelona.
He's probably going to go somewhere. But yeah, I think if you're trying to move, as far as upward mobility goes, it's a good move to go to Europe.
Absolutely.
Manage a league.
Because there's still that stigma. There's still this stink about MLS, right? That unfortunately some of these managers are not going to be able to wear off of them. And it's the 2 teams that have parent clubs in Europe where you're seeing these managers getting these opportunities to go over.
Yeah. So how do you think some of that translates into Atlanta's scenario, where you've seen Tata do so on the biggest stage? How long do you think we have him? What do you think?
His contract's up in December,
the league, but for somebody like him who's done that already, exactly. His contract's, he had a 2-year deal. He's up to renew after this season for another 2 years. Do you think we get him for 2 more? Do you think he goes on? Because, again, he's been there. He's done that.
I'm 50-50 on it, but I think the reason that he would stay is you compare it to a Patrick Vieira who's trying to move up in the managerial world. Right. That move makes sense for him. For Tata Martino, that's already been around the block. I think he really enjoys Atlanta. There's not a lot of pressure on him. He can kind of do what he wants, mold the team. And he said he wanted to change the footballing culture in the U.S. And I think he's certainly done that in MLS. So
I got Guinness coming in. None for him, but I'll take one.
All right. That would be great. Thank you.
So you guys are doing. Do you got a few minutes to talk to us about what you guys have going on outside?
They're doing glass etching out there.
Come on, we can get in here. Josh, you can stay.
Josh, don't run away from us.
So top of the mic. So you got
it. Right here.
Seasoned professional.
Hello, how are you? I'm a wave.
What's your name?
My name's Amanda.
Amanda?
Yes, sir.
So you're with Guinness. You guys are out here, and again, we're out at Elder Tree Public House down in East Atlanta Village, and you guys are doing something pretty damn cool out there.
I would say so.
Tell the people a little bit about it.
So we are engraving a 20-ounce Guinness pint glass for you to keep and take home. You can put pretty much anything on it. Your name is what most people do. You can do a date. You could do your soccer team or
Home Before Dark.
Whatever.
Yeah, our podcast. Yeah.
Or the podcast. I will bring one over for y'all if you like. And you just got to buy a pint of Guinness, and then show us, and we will get you a pint glass. But we're only here till 1 p.m.
Okay.
So cutoff would be 12:45 because it does take a minute to engrave.
You guys have right at an hour. So are you guys up?
Is it an hour?
Yeah.
Oh.
So are you guys set up out there right now?
We're ready to go. We've already done a couple glasses.
So for you guys in the bar, if you guys didn't hear, go get a pint of Guinness and go get your pint glass etched.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Put your name on it. Just nothing profane. I have to say that.
What? Come on, it's a bar. It's an alcohol. You can't put anything profane on a.
I can put wanker or something along those lines.
What if I put a number instead of a letter? Does that
so we can do
I don't
Spanish
know.
swear words then.
Oh, I like it.
Oh.
I don't know Spanish, but my coworker is fluent in Spanish and Italian, so fair warning there. She won't know what it is.
All right, we need different languages to try.
So we do a German or something like that. You guys are on top of it,
I can't guarantee special characters.
So no Mandarin.
I know. It's unfortunate.
No Mandarin characters, no kanjis.
No images. I don't have that ability.
All right.
I know. I'm very boring. I'm sorry.
So are you a soccer fan at all?
I am. I love the United.
You do?
I have a little jersey and everything.
That's awesome.
But I wasn't allowed to wear it today.
Understandable.
No, unfortunate.
Yeah.
So obviously we're getting ready for the NYC game. Score prediction. Yes. What are you thinking today?
Ooh. Well, I want it to be high. I'm going to go us 3, them 2.
Wow. Ooh, I like it. I like the confidence. You're the only person so far that we've heard say that we're going to even win this game, let alone draw it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, you got to be optimistic.
Yeah, we just have. I think we still have a little bit of PTSD from going up there last year.
Right.
And them being such a, they're a great team, and whether or not they rally around Vieira in his last game, or whether I don't know.
Yeah, if Vieira can knock the dust off and be a threat, I mean, and we've seen the team has weapons. That's the thing that keeps coming back is regardless of what happens off the field, they have weapons. It's just a matter of they put it together for this game. And I think that with them being in the hunt right now, I mean, still a lot of game to play, a lot of season to be played, but with them being second in the East and they could jump us with a win and be atop the Supporters Shield race, I think that says a lot and motivates them a lot. Even you can see that with changes in the organization, it goes one of two ways, right? It's either a rallying cry for the team or it's a way for the team to get inside their own head. So we'll find out today which way it's going to go.
A lot of moving parts in this match for sure. I mean, we already talked about how the 3-back is a little bit weird on the field, how it's a big night for Barco. You've got the Patrick Vieira situation, the battle for the top of the East. So a lot of moving parts. I think we'll find out quickly, but a lot of kind of undetermined things. Yeah. It's a really interesting 90 minutes.
If this was an EPL match, I would predict this is going to be a 0-0 snoozer.
Yeah.
Like whenever they build up Liverpool, Man U, and then Arsenal and Tottenham, you're going to end up with a 0-0. But MLS is so unpredictable.
That's true.
Yeah.
Welcome to America, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Indeed.
All right, I got to go sample. So I also have complimentary samples.
Complimentary
if you
Guinness
haven't tried
samples.
Guinness, you come see me, and I will let you try it.
Her name's Amanda. She's going to be
Amanda. Hi.
She's going to be working the bar. She's going to be out there with the glass etching. Out.
It's pretty cool. Even if you don't drink, go out there and check them out.
And order a Guinness anyways.
Tom has already made a request that even though you don't drink, to buy a pint glass and get it for him. So there you go.
Oh yeah, my dad, who doesn't drink either.
Get one for a friend at least. It's pretty cool. You guys have
It's a great Father's Day gift.
Yeah. There you go.
Ooh, Father's Day is next Sunday.
You will
guys,
be like the man if you bring
don't
that
tell him
home,
it was
right?
free. Well, don't tell him it only cost a pint of Guinness.
He knows
Unless
now.
they watch the
He's listening.
podcast. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys.
Nice meeting you.
All right, so guys, we're coming right up on 12 o'clock when we got to cut and start packing up here. So closing thoughts, comments on the game. So my prediction is I don't know anymore. I think because Vieira leaving, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The chess match will play out longer than we
I like the
expected
2-1
to.
scoreline. I'm good with that. A little bit of confidence getting a goal on the road against a great team. I hate moral victories. It's not a moral victory, but at the same time, as long as I'm good, as long as we don't get absolutely demolished in this game.
I'm thinking a low-scoring game. I think the chess match, Atlanta is going to have listened to the show, realize that they need to make adjustments mid-game, and I think that that's going to play out just like it did last time, and I'm thinking it's going to be a low-scoring Atlanta win, late, 1-0, or a 1-1 draw.
2-1 for me for NYCFC as well.
Yeah.
I would like to see a tighter match when we went there last season. I think we will.
I would like to see a tighter, easier to follow match than what we got at Mercedes-Benz earlier on in the season, where I couldn't tell who was playing where. It was the most fluid, free-flowing game I've ever seen, but also the most confusing from an analytical standpoint.
I think it's going to be more of that, dude.
Yeah.
I think it really is because you have two teams with a lot of weapons, and that's what it takes to try to. You're just constantly trying to figure out what's going to work, and you're making those adjustments, and that's the only way you're going to expose either one of those teams.
And I think you guys brought up some good points. I mean, I think in a lot of ways the way that we played them in Mercedes-Benz was great. I mean, they equalized on an absolute banger from Alexander.
Yeah, you can't do anything about that.
It's going to be so different, obviously, on the road, but the pitch, I mean, that pitch up there completely transforms the match.
Tighter, slower. Yeah. It compresses the game, but then also...
You can also see
I don't know if our speed is going to be as much of an advantage up there as it is down here.
Right. Because it's going to be so congested, and you have players that want to spread the field and take space. So should be interesting matchup either way.
The first in a tough stretch. I mean, we have, obviously we have NYCFC today. We have Columbus on the road on Wednesday in a midweek match. We have it's the first, I guess it's the second in, what is that, a stretch of 4 and 10 days, something like that?
Yeah.
Where we have Columbus on Wednesday, and we have Portland at home next Saturday.
I think there's a week break in between.
We do have a break.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right.
We have a break next week, then we have our Open Cup match.
Sorry.
Sorry.
And then Portland coming, so.
Getting myself confused.
Yeah. So, thanks for coming on, Josh. Appreciate it.
What a pleasure. Hopefully not the last time.
No, not at all. So this is going to be our home base for away matches. So we're going to be out here,
Oh, man.
Yeah,
cool.
So we'll be seeing a lot of you out here, hopefully.
Cool.
So where can the people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at JoshB914.
And Mouse of the South, obviously.
Yeah, Mouse of the South, MOTS podcast. I don't know. Eric does all that specific stuff, but I do remember the Twitter handle. So
yeah, that's great.
You can tell whenever you get a hold of the Twitter handle, I think.
Yes.
The dynamic of what gets tweeted out definitely changes.
That's one of my favorite things. But between having 3 people on our end, you can always
We've got
tell.
to the point where sometimes the cynicism is lost on people, and you can't tell if it's me or Kevin.
Well, it's lost internally to the group where I'm like, did you or Dan post that? I don't even know anymore.
Oh, Dan, you. So does Dan still? Is he still a thing? He's still a thing?
Well, we let him in.
I see him every now and then with you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. We're just going to take his name out of the
He's
info.
a 2-time father, about to be a 3rd-time father. And
congratulations.
Yeah, in a month.
Right.
In a month's time, I think it's sometime in July that his wife is due, and he's going to be
coming up
busier.
soon.
Yeah,
Coming up soon.
so.
All right, Tim. What about you? Where can they find you?
You can find me at Tim Herb. You can also find us the rest of the season spread out. We'll be giving you guys some heads up on the notice, but at the tailgates with Elder Tree, and then also out here at away games.
Yeah.
Thanks to Trinidad. Thanks to Eric for the folks hosting us here, allowing us to do our thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me as well at The Architect. That's at _ARC, number 1 TECT, collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B. And the number 4.
We're still trying to wrestle our way that Home Before Dark Twitter handle.
Yeah, we'll find a way.
Without the numbers,
we'll
yeah.
find a way. So thanks for
Just
checking
waiting
us out,
for that
guys.
Twitter estate sale to
Yeah,
start.
exactly. Thanks for checking us out. Be sure to leave a review on iTunes. We'll read it aloud on the show. We will be on a hiatus this week, so this will be our episode for this week. We're going to take a break on Monday.
So Columbus score predictions then?
Oh, yeah.
In Columbus against a really tough defensive team.
I reserve the right to change my prediction. I think 2-2 draw.
1-1 draw.
I think we might see a 0-0.
Ooh.
We suck. We're going
it's
to be a 0-0.
Zach Steffen is
If
the
there's one
man
thing
back
about
then.
sports, it's that nobody knows anything. Look at Lee Corso every Saturday. For college
Yeah,
football.
right.
It's really hard to score on the combination of Zach Steffen, Abubakar, and Jonathan Mensah back there. So
right.
You're right.
it's going to be tough, especially on the road in front of that ruckus, empty crowd, people in protest.
Yeah.
Not going to those games.
So thanks for checking us out, guys. We'll see you next time. As always, be home before dark.